Hey, welcome to AP Psychology 2020. What a year, huh? So, looking forward to this year, and I'm really looking forward to using the technology that we have at our disposal to enhance student learning. This will be a challenging year, but there's no reason to think we can't take away from this year some real positives, including teaching our students to do a little bit more independent work, providing them with great models for that type of independent work and pacing themselves, and of course, models for the behavior we expect online. So, this has been such a great 3 weeks, and I'm excited to be at back to school night. And I missed those of you who couldn't be here, which is why I'm recording this. So let me start off very quickly and briefly with who I am, a little bit about me. I grew up in outside of New York City, love New York, went to school in Western Massachusetts, worked on Capitol Hill, where I was very lucky to join the Reagan White House, being a intern who welcomed minor dignitaries. So I did a lot of this in the Rose Garden. Very important job. Went to go work for some software companies and investment companies on Wall Street. Loved going to work with the Sierra Club on backpacking trips. Rode the stock market boom, kind of saw the bust coming. Had my first child, went back to school, went to Johns Hopkins, where I got my master's in teaching. Had a second child, and about the same time, actually, that I started at Whitman. And that's where I've been since 2003, so a long time. And what you see above the picture of Whitman is the board of candy neurons that students usually make in our second unit. Definitely an activity I'm going to miss this year, but I am still trying to figure out how we can fit that in. I have one son who is a junior at Whitman, another one who graduated from Whitman last year. Just said goodbye to him at Arizona State, where I hope to retire sometime not so distant future. Okay, so meanwhile, I'm very happy to be back here this year. I want to talk some more about the supports we have in place for your students, and I'm going to start with the idea that I talked about earlier, a pacing calendar. Our students are really going to be challenged this year, especially in their AP classes, to make it through such a huge amount of work and learning and content without the guidance of their teachers. While certainly they can do it on their own, we know that we play an important role, and we know that their interaction with other students in our classrooms plays an equally important role. And they're going to miss out a little bit on that this year. But we will find ways and opportunities to make it work for them. The first one is by creating a pacing calendar so that we can model for them ways that they can keep up with the work. So each day is really broken into a few what we call pages in a module. And as you can see on this calendar, there are pages each day that we're suggesting that students do. And then there are assignments in bold that absolutely must be done in order to earn a grade for the class. So in addition to the independent work that they do, we do these lectures and we do in-class activities. We do plenty checks for understanding. So while they're going through these pages of the module, there are little mini checks for understanding that don't impact their grade, but rather give them instant feedback. We also provide them a book, and the books are not all available yet. We will make sure we get them out to you when they're returned by the previous year psychology students. They'll have reading guides, and they have participation activities throughout the unit, and it really helps to guide them to discussions and collaborative work. Each unit has 3 to 4 graded activities and a cumulative unit exam. Now, in this video here, it's just an example of what a student might see if they are engaging in independent work. Okay, so we'll be talking about neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers of our nervous system. And if you haven't already done so, you should click on this icon to download the student notes. Okay, so you can see there that students have an opportunity to engage in virtual instruction. Ms. Friedman, the other psych teacher, and Mr. Heckert and I will all be providing these instructional videos. And they are peppered with questions throughout, so students are constantly being asked to apply the information that they're learning. Now, I keep talking about these things called modules, so let me explain what they are and let me show you what they look like for students. This is our course homepage. Each unit is a module. This module is the first unit, Scientific Foundations of Psychology. When students go into this module and they look at their pacing calendar, each page you see in this module corresponds with a line item in their pacing calendar. So they might know, for example, on this day I should be working on research methods, types, and features. So they can click on that page in the module. The module will open up the page for them, provide them with student note sheet that they can download, and then they can walk themselves through the module taking the notes. And as you can see, sometimes although they might be videos, other times they are notes with quick check questions at the end. We do follow the College Board syllabus and curriculum. And I have posted the course syllabus, which I won't go through tonight, but the number of units that we cover is located at the bottom of it under course content. Lastly, a lot of you are asking, how can my student or my child get some help? Because this is a time when perhaps they might need a little bit more instruction in the 2 hours a week that we're able to provide to them. So my policy is I'm keeping my Zoom room open if I'm in front of my screen working, and that's during school hours. And I encourage students to come find me. They know when my free periods are, which happen to be periods 6 and 7, and they're welcome to come in at any point during those 2 periods. If they want to see me outside of those periods, just like they would at school, they can ask me for an appointment, and I will make sure that I open up the Zoom and they're there for it. Now I'd like to talk more about the curriculum that we're going to cover, and I'm going to start with the first unit, which is Scientific Foundations of Psychology. In this unit, which we're ending this week because we're taking the test Thursday, we look at the different psychological perspectives, starting with psychodynamic perspective, moving to the behaviorist perspective, the humanist and the cognitivist perspective, and the biological perspective. We also take a look at research methods and inferential statistics and how we can draw conclusions from the data that's being gathered. Our second unit is focused on the mind, and it's the biology of the mind. So we're talking about the nervous system here, the endocrine system. How do these two bodies' communication systems work together in order to answer all the demands of living? We go right down to the neuronal level. We study the structure of the neuron, the way the neurons communicate. And we also take a look at the way in which we can study the brain through imaging techniques. In this unit, we also combine with it looking at circadian cycles, including sleeping. We look at the effect of psychoactive drugs on the brain. And we look at the impact of dreaming and sleep disorders. Our third unit is sensation and perception, and in this unit we are interested in studying a process called transduction. That is the way in which our body brings in physical sensations and converts them into neurochemical messages so that we can perceive or we can understand and make sense of them inside of our brain. So the sensation and perception unit will cover all of our major senses, including smell, touch, vision, auditory. Our memory unit goes back to biology. We take a look at how the brain, the underpinnings of the brain, what is it inside the brain that allows us to form memories, and what is it inside the brain that allows us to use memories, bring them to the forefront and manipulate them. So we'll look at that. We'll also look at why we forget and the again, the basis for memory and the the experiments that have been done that have given us the information that we have. In our learning unit, it's a pure behaviorist unit. We look at reinforcements and punishment and operant conditioning, take a look at Pavlov and his work in classical conditioning, and we'll look at Albert Bandura and his work in operant conditioning, specifically as it relates to social learning from others' behavior. In our cognitive psychology unit, we start off talking about language, how language develops. We take a look at decision making, the use of algorithms and heuristics in that. And we will look at the nature of intelligence. What makes us intelligent? What are the measurements of intelligence? How are they flawed? How have they changed? We end the semester with developmental psychology, and we start with birth, go into adolescence, and then finally into parenthood and aging. We study the cognitive, the moral, the social, and the biological components of development. We end our semester with developmental psychology, and we move on to social psychology, personality psychology, motivation and emotion, and abnormal psychology in our second semester. So, really looking forward to this semester with the students. And it's been a great, like I said, 3 weeks. They've been extraordinarily engaged. They have not been shy to ask for help. And I think the key here is going to be flexibility on both parts. So the students need to let us know what's not working for them. And as teachers, we will try to respond to that. But we have to always keep in mind the end goal, which is to bring them towards the AP exam with a full understanding of the content and skills necessary to be successful on that. So if you have any questions, you can reach me through my email that you can find in Canvas or on ParentView. And I look forward to hearing from you. And I'm sorry that you couldn't make it to back to school night, but I look forward to talking to you in the future.